Hi, welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Jean Bergeson, and I am the Director of Mission Advancement at Chicago Christian High School and Southwest Chicago Christian Schools. I have the privilege of working with principals and faculty at all three of our campuses, and I've been in this role for 3 years. I came to Chicago Christian when my daughter was starting high school. She visited several high schools, and we knew that we were looking for a Christian school. But what really won her and my husband and I over was the friendliness and the community at the school. When she visited, she had a great visit with fellow students as well as the teachers and the administrators, and that's ultimately why we chose Chicago Christian High School. Of course, with the current crisis, you can't visit us in person, so we're putting this video together today so that you can get a glimpse into our community. We have with us several of our faculty members and of our principal. And I'm going to ask them to go ahead and introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Drury.
My name is Mike Drury. I'm the principal here at Chicago Christian High School. This is my second year in this role. I came to Christian High in 2015 as a history teacher, and then I became principal in 2018. I married into a family that has a long lineage of being at Christian High, so it was kind of my destiny to come work at Chicago Christian. And I'm very excited to have my own daughter join the system here as a preschooler here starting in the fall.
Who'd like to go next?
Hi, I'm Kevin Pittman. I'm the Dean of Students at Chicago Christian High School. I am also an 85 alum of Chicago Christian High School. I believe next year will be my 8th year as the Dean of Students. And I have 2 children who also are CCHS alums.
My name is Kristen Lenders, and I am a alumni of Chicago Christian. I'm also a former faculty kid. I currently have been at Chicago Christian, I think I'm going on my 18th year now. I have a son who's going to be graduating from 8th grade and joining us at Chicago Christian next fall, and I have a daughter who is in 3rd grade. I am currently the school social worker. I'm also the director of the theater department, and I coach the improv team. I've been the director of many of our plays and musicals, and I'm also helping be one of the guidance counselors.
Hi, my name is Gretchen Snape, and I am the college and academic counselor at Chicago Christian High School. I work with students freshman through senior year on their academic plans, choosing their classes for next year, and certainly with the high school juniors and seniors as they embark on their college search and college decision process. I'm formerly a college admissions counselor and financial aid counselor. So I bring with me to Chicago Christian the background of reviewing applications and working in financial aid. And I've been at Chicago Christian 9 years this year. And it is just so fun to serve this community.
Great, thank you guys. Another way to get to know us is to check us out on Facebook and Instagram and other social media. And I'm going to share my screen with you right now to give you an intro to the school. So Chicago Christian High School, our mission statement is that we are a Christ-centered learning community intent on restoring God's world. We have 309 students. We have a retention rate of 97%. We also have our student body. We have preschool through elementary schools that are part of our school system, and about 50% of our freshman class come from our Southwest schools, and the other half of the students come from other public and private schools and homeschool. Our students do take the ACT, and our score is a 27.7 from the top 25%, and our graduates from last year that attended college was 98%. Okay, Mr. Pittman, can you please tell us about CCHS's athletic program? I know that we are members of the IHSA, Illinois High School Athletic Association. What else can you tell us about the athletics program?
That's correct. We're also a member of the Metro Suburban Conference. And the Metro Suburban Conference is made up of 14 member schools, some Catholic, some Christian, some public, across the west and southwest suburbs. Chicago Christian offers 18 varsity sports, including the fall girls cross country, tennis, volleyball, boys cross country, golf, football, and soccer. In the winter, those sports include girls basketball, boys basketball, bowling, cheerleading for the girls and boys. And also in the spring, we offer girls soccer, softball, and track, along with boys baseball, track, and volleyball. And every year, 65 to 70% of our student body participates in athletics in one form or another, while 54% of our students participate in multiple sports. And participating in multiple sports is something that a small school like ours really needs, but it also gives kids lots of opportunities to be on different teams and to try different things out, especially early in their high school career, and we really encourage our students to do that. A couple highlights from the last year: boys basketball, which I'm the coach of. Sorry, I should have mentioned that before. I coach boys varsity basketball and girls varsity softball. Boys basketball last year won the MSC Blue, the upper division, which is a very strong division. We finished the year at 23-8. We also played our Christmas tournament this year in Orlando, Florida. And next year we will play a home game at the United Center. We try to flip-flop those two events every year. So if we're not playing at the United Center, we'll be in Florida. If we're not in Florida, we will play at the United Center. Our newest varsity sport is boys volleyball, which became a varsity sport in 2019. Boys cross country was also relaunched 2 years ago, and they had a really strong season this year, winning the MSC Red Division as well. Girls volleyball had a terrific season where they won conference, regionals, and sectionals. And outside hitter Leah Moore signed this year to play with Michigan State, which is a great accomplishment for Leah. We have the Schrei Fields off campus where we play our softball and baseball games and soccer games. Our new baseball field was completed just in the year 2018. These offer turf infields and grass outfields at both of those fields and have beautiful state-of-the-art fields and dugouts as well. Our baseball team has won 9 straight regional championships in a row. In 2017, they were also the third-place champions in the whole state of Illinois. 2 seasons ago, our softball team won 24-5, and the 2 top pitchers from that year are both doing very well pitching in college. One is at Division III University of Chicago, and one is at Division II Grand Valley State University. So for a small school, we compete very well in our conference, and we give kids multiple opportunities to get noticed by colleges and to get looked at and offered college scholarships to many of these schools. And many of our athletes are lucky enough to be able to do that. Last year, we had 25 seniors signed to play in colleges. That's 40% of our senior athletes. That's a huge number. Last thing, Chicago Christian has won 5 state championships, 1 in girls basketball, 3 in girls track, 1 in girls volleyball, with hopefully more to come in the near future. The most recent IHSA championship is girls volleyball in 2010.
Please tell us about all of the great opportunities students have as far as student clubs and extracurriculars.
Well, there are a lot of opportunities that students have with extracurriculars. And one of the things that we like to say is that we are a small school with lots of big school opportunities. And what's really kind of neat about being a small school is it does provide kids a lot of opportunities to be involved in various levels of sports and activities. If I think of one student in particular who last year competed at the state level in tennis, she competed at the state level in mock trial, she competed at the state level with our WISE team, and she also managed to be one of the leads in the musical as well as a fairly decent sized part in the play. And while she might be a very special young woman, there are so many kids like that who can tell you that they were able to be in sports, they were able to be in the musicals, they were able to do the activities that they wanted to do because we don't force kids to specialize. We allow them to develop all of their interests. And we do have a variety of different programs. So obviously fine arts is the one that I'm most familiar with, having participated in that in high school and really leading that during my time as a staff member. So we have 1 musical and 1 play every year. And it's amazing the different ways that we have to get kids involved. I think last year for our musical, we had 80 different kids that were involved in different ways, whether it was building our sets, painting our sets, being obviously on stage, being on one of the crews, whether it was a crew that moved set pieces or a crew that learned how to do the lights and sound. We have a state-of-the-art lights and sound system that are all computerized. So once kids have learned the skill of how to use our equipment boards, they are well prepared for other future endeavors. In fact, I found out that there's a lot of scholarships available for kids who are interested in being in technical theater, just because it is kind of a smaller niche place for kids to be. And then when we have our musicals, we also have a pit orchestra. So that gives kids from a variety of backgrounds a chance to be involved in a musical or play. And then we also have our concert band, which is a class, but kids are also allowed to take it as kind of like a 0-hour opportunity as well. And there's a pep band, there's a jazz band. So there's different ways for kids to get involved with musical instruments, as well as, like I said, the pit orchestra. We also have a concert choir, which is typically for upperclassmen or kids who are really gifted at singing, who are able to audition to get into that choir. We have a campus choir. Those are both classes that are offered during the school day. And then we have extracurricular choirs as well. There's a women's chorus that specializes in more difficult music, as well as some a cappella music. And then there's a chamber choir, which is definitely probably our most advanced choir. And we do have some kids that are part of the choral program, and then other kids who can't fit choir into their schedule take that as an extracurricular. And then with art club, that's probably one of my favorite clubs here. It's something that kids can choose to join in, and they can come to the art room, they can create ceramics, they can create paintings, they have a teacher who's able to help them work through it. And it's one of those clubs that they can come sometimes, they can come all the time. Sometimes the art club kids are the ones that help us paint the sets for the musical. So it's just kind of a neat way for art kids to interact with each other. Again, if they can't fit an art class into their schedule, they still have the opportunity to be a part of that. So after the fine arts, we have what I call the competitive extracurriculars, and those are just some cool different ways that kids can actually compete. They can go to state, they can get medals. Probably our favorite one is our Scholastic Bowl team, which is kind of like a quiz style Jeopardy show thing with a team. We actually took state in that last year, and we're pretty sure we probably would have won state this year as well if life hadn't kind of altered things for us in the spring. That team competes at Masonic tournaments, they compete at regional tournaments, and they compete, it's an IHSA activity, so it's right there in our league with our other sports, and it's just kind of a neat way for kids to show some of their skills in different scholastic areas, as well as sometimes sports and entertainment. We also have a WISE team, which I believe is renamed ACES now, and it's a team of kids that go off and compete at the regional and state level, and they take tests. And we've got some kids that are really, really smart, and they do really well at WISE. Last year we had, I think, 10 different kids that competed at the state level for WISE. We also have a mock trial team, which is a chance for kids to learn about law and learn, it's kind of a cool blend of academia and acting, because each of them have like a role they play, whether it's an attorney role or whether it's a witness role. And we have an awesome mock trial team too that competes, again, in different regional ways, also has gone on to the state level and has done very well there. And in fact, went to a national competition in Atlanta a few years ago and has considered going nationally again. And then we also have our DECA team, which is a business group. And those kids meet all year long. They pick out the different activities. And some of those could be role play activities. Some of those are actually written events. And then they go again and compete at sectionals, at regionals, onto state and nationally. And we've had kids for the pretty much since we've built our DECA program, and definitely in the last 4 years, we've had kids that have competed at the national level. I think last year was our biggest group. We sent out about 8 kids to the national level. We usually have at least 20 kids who are participating at the state level. And again, that was another activity that we thought we had really good chances of doing well in again, but things changed and we didn't get the chance to participate state or nationally this year with that activity. And then we have a lot of just unusual kind of one-off clubs too that kids can participate in. Of course, we've got leadership clubs, you know, kids can run for student government and be a part of that. We also have a program called Group X, which is really big into volunteering and again into planning fundraisers and going places and doing different things. It can be another place where kids can develop leadership. Our senior activities committee is a place where seniors get together to plan senior activities, fundraisers. Of course, the big events at the end of the year, is a big part of the senior activities committee. And then we have some interesting ones, like we've had, they're student created ones. They're ones that where students have said, I think we should do this. And they found a teacher who said, yeah, I think we should do that. And then they created a club. And some of those clubs have been going on for years. We have a book club, which meets once a month and is led by students and our librarian. And again, that's a club that if they advertise, like this is the book that we're doing, and if you're like, oh my gosh, I love that book, I want to go see that, you can go just for that particular book. Or if you just love reading and love to talk to people about books, you can go to all the book club events. We've had a ukulele club. We've had a theology club. There are a couple more that I can't think of right now, but again, it just happens to be if kids have a passion for something, it's a chance for them to develop it. And actually, what I just thought of, we have an improv team, which I am the captain of, and that meets once a week, and we do at least 3 performances a year, as well as are available for gigs. We go to different schools, we perform for retirement dinners and different events like that. And then because there's only 9 people able to be on the team, this year we had a number of students who were disappointed, and so they wanted to start an improv club so that they could develop their skills. And so that was another club that we were able to start. I know we've got board game clubs, and I'm sure someone will talk about our tutoring at some point in time, but sometimes for kids who don't need tutoring during that time, they do use that to go to some of these other clubs and activities as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Drury, can you please speak to the advantages of our school size? We're on the smaller side as far as high schools go. How does that play out for our students?
I think our size is our greatest asset, actually. It comes down to it. I think it's a joy working in a school this size. I think my colleagues would agree with that. That kids coming here, they're not a number. They're not hidden. They can't hide away. We know these kids by name. I personally have conversations with every single kid we have in this school. We have a phrase that kind of guides what we do here at Chicago Christian. It's called relationships matter. That kind of the message we have to our teachers that the relationships come first and then the content comes second. We have to get to know our kids, and we can do that with the size of school that we have. And that pays dividends. We know how to support our kids. We know when they're struggling. We know how to push them. And that's the kind of the benefit of coming to a school of this size. You have that extra support put in place. It's a lot more manageable. You have a lot more one-on-one attention for your child, which is great. And so that's why I love working here, because it has that ability to get to know these kids on a personal level. They just don't shuffle in and shuffle out. So that comes into, we know kids are struggling. We have our tutor list. We can run those reports. We know kids who need an extra push in something. We can make that work. So it's nice to have that size to get that done. And Mrs. Lenders talked about it. We have kids, we have to have a problem of they're doing too much because they want to get involved with so many different things. So it's nice to have those options for the kids. They get involved with something they may not be involved with it at a larger school. So that's a great thing to have as a school of our size. We have all those opportunities. The teachers get to know everyone on a personal level. We have those bonds, those last beyond their 4 years at Chicago Christian. That's what makes this job in the school really exciting.
Great. Can you also talk to us about our Portrait of a Graduate statement and what that means to each student?
Yeah, so along with the relationship that matters, everything that we do funnels through this Portrait of a Graduate. So we have this plan. So when people walk out our doors after 4 years, they have certain qualities about them. So when they go start their own lives, work in their own community, they kind of have these attributes about them. And our first big one that we have is that they become followers of Christ. That's rooted in the Reformed faith here at Chicago Christian, and we want kids to go out there and to restore God's kingdom to its original glory. And it's a lofty goal to have, but we want our kids to be rooted in their faith when they leave, and so that's our big goal for us. And then on top of that, we want our kids to become seekers of knowledge. We want them to dive deeper into a topic. We want them to become lifelong learners. They kind of spread that joy of education to their future kids as well. We want them to be pushed. We want kids to grow. And then we wrap that together with our being a pursuers of justice, that we live in a troubling world. We want kids to go out there, reach across boundaries, not even within their own school, outside of their community and their own families. how can they break down barriers? How can they work with each other to kind of make a better world for ourselves? And then our fourth category, we want our kids to become caretakers of creation. How God gave us this beautiful world. We learn about this in school. How can we restore to his glory? How can we act in a certain way that we behave as responsible citizens, as good stewards of his creation? So all those things permeate through all of our classrooms, go through all of our discussions. So when kids graduate from Chicago Christian, they embody those attributes. And those are big goals that we have for our graduates.
Great, thank you. Okay, back to Mrs. Lenders. Please tell us about the academic and counseling support that the high school provides.
Well, like Mr. Drury mentioned, we have a relationship matters. Students are known by us. And sometimes for some kids, they don't want to be as known by us. We have the tutoring lists that come out on a biweekly basis, and the counselors are getting that list, and we're looking at the kids, and we're finding kids who are on that list multiple times, and we're connecting with those kids, and we're trying to figure out what is their barrier, what's getting in the way of them being as well educated as they can be. And sometimes if it is an issue of accessibility, we work with them to try to make the class more accessible. Sometimes that's kind of building a bridge between the students and the teachers. Sometimes it's a motivation factor. And so sometimes we have some frank conversations about motivation and trying to figure out what's going to be the most motivating for a student. And I'm sure Mrs. Snape can talk a little bit more about this when it's her opportunity, because she does a lot of this work too. As a social worker, I am here to help with the emotional ups and downs that happen in high school. Sometimes there are a lot of different events that can make high school a more difficult time for kids. And sometimes just with the changes in their biochemistry, kids are experiencing anxiety and depression for the first time. So I do a lot of education on those topics. I do a lot of individual meetings with kids to try to help them understand themselves, to get back on track, potentially to help their families find outside community support so that they can really grow into being the best version of themselves that they can be. I also am blessed in that I get to run a couple support groups for students. We have support groups for students whose families have experienced a death in the family, because that can be an event that makes you feel a little bit different when you're in high school. And sometimes it's just helpful to work with other kids who've gone through a similar situation. And the same thing with students whose families have either never married or been divorced. Sometimes that can be a tricky time to navigate some of the issues that come up. And it's just great for kids to be able to work with myself and work with each other in order to better understand themselves and better understand maybe who God has planned for them to be.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit to the Academic Support Center and how that supports students?
Oh, sure. We are blessed with our Academic Support Center in that, we partner with the public school to sometimes provide assessments for students. Sometimes we have kids that have come in with already diagnosed learning disabilities, with anxiety disorders, with attention deficit disorders, and our staff will make an individualized plan for the learning plan for those kids. They will disseminate it to the teachers so the teachers know what kind of accommodations we have in place to help those kids learn, if that's extended time on tests. A lot of times our kids will take their tests in the Academic Support Center because it is a better environment in which for them to take tests. And then we have two amazing professional women who work up there who just help kids one-on-one. Students who have a learning plan can have an ASC period, which means that instead of having a regular study hall, they are assigned to ASC. And when they're in ASC, it's kind of a guided study hall where they have this adult who is kind of looking over their shoulder, maybe making sure they're staying on track if there's somebody who maybe gets off track, or helping to reteach a lesson for them if they're struggling to understand it. Sometimes reading things for them that might be difficult, or hooking them up with different programs that can give them those kind of supports. So it's really a great way to help students of all different abilities to be as successful as possible during their time at Chicago Christian.
My question for you is, if you could please tell us about the college credit opportunities that the high school offers, and maybe you could also share some of the colleges and careers that our recent graduates are pursuing.
Yes, absolutely. So we offer a number of opportunities for students to earn college credit while they are still in high school. One of those opportunities is dual enrollment with Moraine Valley Community College. 3 of our high school business courses can be taken for dual credit. Those are computer applications, graphic applications, and advanced computer applications. We also offer 8 AP courses at our school: AP Spanish, psychology, U.S. government, U.S. history, English language and composition, English literature, calculus, and statistics. Students take an end-of-year AP or advanced placement exam, and when they earn a passing grade, they can potentially get college credit. Each college sets its own criteria for what score a student must achieve to get college credit, but many of our students graduate with several credits taken from AP exams that they can carry with them to college and cut down on the college coursework that is needed for earning that diploma. We have a number of students attending colleges. What I meant to say is we have students currently attending a wide variety of colleges and universities. Christian colleges like Trinity Christian College or Calvin University are really popular choices among our students, but we also have students at large public universities like the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, University of Minnesota, University of Wisconsin-Madison. We also have graduates currently attending or admitted to Georgetown University, Emory University, Baylor University, Barnard College, Illinois Wesleyan University, and Wheaton College. We have students pursuing a wide variety of careers after high school or college. A few years ago, we had a student take a gap year at a orphanage in Guatemala, and she actually never left. She planned to go to college after taking the one gap year doing missions work, but she fell in love with the country and fell in love with the service and has been there ever since. Another student went to art school, the Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia, where he studied animation. And just recently I bought a few of his children's books, which he wrote and illustrated, and those are bedtime favorites for my young children. So it's really fun to look at the author and illustrator and know that that was one of my former students who took his art career to the next level. Among our alumni are airline pilots, doctors, business owners, working actors who are paying their bills, and nurses. We have a recent graduate who attended Wheaton College, majoring in English, and she now works for a tech startup in Chicago. The list goes on. The stories are endless. The stories are as endless as our number of graduates. But at Chicago Christian, we do foster a broad liberal arts education, and our graduates leave these walls with really good skills. They're prepared to be successful at a number of rigorous universities. But more than that, we want them to graduate with choices so that they can choose the more rigorous route, or they can choose whatever route they are really called to. And we prepare them for those options, whether it's a military career, a rigorous university, a community college, missions work, etc.
Can you tell me about the PLTW classes?
Yeah, so that's our biomed program and our engineering program. And we have our 4-year biomed program, which really gets the kids geared for a career in the medical field. And so if there's something to become a doctor, medical related, nursing, these are all hands-on project-based classes, and human anatomy all the way through medical innovations, biomedical programs, all hands-on projects, a lot of field trips with them. And kids take a test at the end of each class year, and they get to earn some college credit toward that. And it gets them really ahead of the game and prepared for taking those science classes, medical classes when they get into college. And then we have a 2-year engineering program that kind of gives you the groundwork to robotics, VEX robotics, working with engineering, some CAD drawing, and again, all hands on deck when it comes to projects. You're building things, you're creating things, and they earn the same thing like biomedical program. They can earn some college credit through that based on tests they take at the end of the course. So it's kind of a nice little program we have as one of the only schools in the area who offer that. So it really gives our kids a heads up when it gets to kind of get ahead of their colleagues when it comes to graduation, requirements and also get them ahead of the game when it comes to scholarships and into other programs.
Thank you everyone for joining us. If you would like more information, please check out the additional pages on our website, swchristian.org. If you have questions, you're welcome to email us. The admissions office can be reached at admissions@swchristian.org. If you have questions for the principal, Mr. Drury, or any of our faculty, please email him at mdrury@swchristian.org. And if you're ready to apply, we would love to see your application come through. You can simply go onto our website, log into the portal with your account information. If you have yet to receive a login ID and password, please either fill out an online inquiry form on the website or email us at admissions, and we'd be happy to get you set up with that. Thank you again for joining us.